Hi, hello, this is She Was Only Evie, and I am Evie. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about two specific book-to-film adaptations. What, Max? Max, can you go lay down? Lay down. Lay down, please. The adaptations that I'm going to be talking about are The Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang, with its film adaptation of Arrival, directed by Denis Villeneuve, as well as Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, with the film of the same name directed by Chloe Zhao. Now, why these two books and these two films? Both of these works, the source material with the story and the novel, as well as the films that they are being adapted into, are about loss and grief, and the way that the adaptations are able to convey the thematic explorations within either of these works is truly astounding. I'm initially going to be keeping it spoiler free. I will make sure to have timestamps below marking where I start into spoilers of Hamnet, as well as spoilers into The Story of Your Life / Arrival. You might be still asking yourself, why these two works? Why these adaptations? Before we get into spoilers, I first want to go into why these two films, Arrival and Hamnet, work so well as adaptations of their respective source material. Like I mentioned before, both of these works are an exploration of grief. From the beginning, we know that there is loss in both of these works. In Hamnet, we know that from a historical perspective, William Shakespeare did have a son named Hamnet, and that son passed away when he was about 11 years old. Maggie O'Farrell's historical note: in the 1580s, a couple living on Henley Street, Stratford, had 3 children, Susanna, then Hamnet, and Judith, who were twins. The boy, Hamnet, died in 1596, aged 11. 4 years or so later, the father wrote a play called Hamlet. In The Story of Your Life, we know that the daughter departs. Ted Chiang, in the opening paragraphs of this story, writes, "I'd love to tell you the story of this evening, the night you were conceived, but the right time to do that would be when you're ready to have children of your own, and we'll never get that chance." Further on, a few paragraphs later, Chiang writes, "This will be in the house on Belmont Street. I'll live to see strangers occupy both houses, the one you were conceived in and the one you grew up in. Your dad and I will sell the first a couple of years after your arrival. I'll sell the second shortly after your departure." So from the onset, they are establishing both writers are establishing from the onset that we're dealing with the loss of a child. Both writers go about these explorations in different ways, both of which I find incredibly compelling and emotionally impactful. In The Story of Your Life, Ted Chiang, with the grief, also explores control through our protagonist, Louise, who is a linguist sent to decipher and understand an alien language when extraterrestrial pods appear across the planet. In Hamnet, Maggie O'Farrell is exploring grief, the lead up to grief, as well as the aftermath of it. She's telling this in a dual timeline, showing Hamnet as the lead up to becoming sick, as well as the lead up to his conception, the relationship and love story between his parents, Agnes and Hathaway, historically, as well as William Shakespeare, who is actually never named in the novel. The way the two films honor their source material while still, by definition, adapting the words on the page to convey the similar, if not same, meaning across from literature to screen was, in my opinion, very well done. Was just beautiful. In Arrival, Denis Villeneuve continues to explore free will that Chane explores, while shifting Louise's arc of free will from one of control with her ability or maybe inability to prevent things from happening, to prevent her child's death. In Hamnet, Chloe Zhao takes the dual narrative and shifts it to a more linear timeline from the introduction of William Shakespeare and his relationship with Agnes to the building of their family and subsequently the death of their son. I might as well at this point go into spoilers. First, I will talk about the story of your life and Arrival. Then I will dive into Hamnet. So if you have not read the story of your life by Ted Chiang, or seen the film Arrival, I would advise you to skip. Again, I will have timestamps below noting where I go into spoilers for Hamnet in case you have read and or seen the film. The Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang and Arrival, directed by Denis Villeneuve. Like I said, the exploration of grief and free will is consistent across both the story and the film. The changes that Denis Villeneuve makes with the story, with Louise's character, and the way Louise's daughter dies is in my opinion, thematically true to the story. Where in the story itself, Louise's daughter dies from a climbing accident. In the film, she dies from, I don't recall if it was cancer or some other terminal disease. But the shift from the daughter's death being an accident versus inevitable, I think is an incredibly profound thematic exploration of free will. Denis Villeneuve in the film actually utilizes a nonlinear visual narrative to not only introduce us to Louise and from the first frame let us know that her child has died, but also to parallel that of the alien heptapod language of nonlinear timeline thinking. Then, given in the story, Chane is writing from Louise's perspective, so she knows she's writing her own story, telling her daughter the story of her life. So she knows what is to come. She understands the nonlinear time aspect of life. Whereas in the film, from an acting perspective, Amy Adams has this incredible, woefully underrated, and criminally unrewarded ability to simultaneously play Louise as a character who knows yet doesn't know at the same time of what is to happen, which I think actually supports the changes that Denis Villeneuve made with the daughter's death going from an accident to a terminal disease. The inevitability of it all. I think Arrival is just a masterpiece. It is truly my favorite film of all time. For the artistic choices, for the adaptation, for the personal reasons that I connected to it. I think it truly is just one of the great films in cinema history. Now, going into Hamnet. Like I mentioned before, the novel is written in a dual perspective following Hamnet in the lead up to him getting sick and dying, as well as the lead up of his parents meeting, falling in love, and building a family together. The second half of the novel is truly an exploration of grief, the aftermath that comes with Hamnet's death, and how Agnes and Will handle or do not handle their grief and their loss. And in the film Hamnet, Chloe Zhao as the director who also co-wrote the screenplay with the author Maggie O'Farrell. Chloe Zhao's artistic directions not only, again, honor the source material of Hamnet, but also really adds to the exploration of these opposites of, while the novel and the film are titled Hamnet, yes, it is about Hamnet. It is about his death, but it is about the life of Shakespeare's family, specifically Agnes, as the mother and the matriarch of this family, as a woman who is so connected to herself and to the earth that she is a parallel while being a juxtaposition to the intellect and more worldly person that is her husband, William Shakespeare. In the film, Chloe Zhao uses the visualization of color to really explore that juxtaposition and those parallels. Agnes's character, as more earthy, is clothed in reds, while Will, is clothed in blues. And that was reiterated to me with the intentionality in an interview that Chloe Zhao did regarding the use of color in the film, and specifically the costuming and the dressing, and using reds for Agnes and blues for William, and how that shifts after the death of Hamnet, where they both are more, the colors of their clothes become more muted, more colorless. And then from an acting perspective, Jessie Buckley as Agnes and Paul Mescal as William Shakespeare, the embodiment of their characters and of these figures, Jessie Buckley just has this incredible ability to reach into the heart of what it is to live, taking the joys of life, the pains of childbirth, the burden of seeing your loved ones fade away before you, and then the hardship and grief of trying to keep your children with you. And then Paul Mescal, he has this wonderful ability to portray this inner turmoil of wanting to be of the world while being restrained by the world, being restrained and contained in this small town village when, as we know, he becomes a figure that is bigger than himself. And how do you simultaneously live your life while being something bigger than yourself? Hamnet is almost a trinity. You have Agnes, and you have Will, and then you have Hamnet himself. Jacoby Jupe, who plays Hamnet in the film, is absolutely and utterly incredible, so talented, period. Doesn't matter how young he is a wonderful actor. And adding to the fact that at the end of the film, or towards the end of the film, the last act, no pun intended, is Agnes going to see a production of Hamlet, the play that William Shakespeare wrote after his son's death. She's angry. She doesn't understand why William Shakespeare has not told her about this, at least in the novel. And in the novel, it ends with her watching the play, and it cuts off from there. We don't really see more past her starting to watch the play. In the film, we see much more of the play. We see her watching the play from beginning to end. We see her questioning why Hamnet's name is being used and being spoken in this way. And we see her seeing William Shakespeare playing the ghost, playing Hamlet's father. Then we see Hamlet on stage. We see that William Shakespeare has made Hamlet to look exactly like Hamnet, but older. We also see Hamnet as the young boy, as played by Jacoby Jupe. We see him as his mother saw him in her quasi-visions. We see him on stage. The creative choice to extend the end of the novel and seeing more of the play itself was beyond moving. Adding on top of that, the utter brilliance and beauty of the actor playing Hamlet in the play that Agnes is seeing is the real-life elder brother of the young man playing Hamnet, the historical Hamnet. Noah Jupe, who plays Hamlet in the play, is the elder brother of Jacoby Jupe, who plays Hamnet. And I think all of these things all together just add to the thematic exploration of grief and family and purpose and longevity and keeping your loved ones alive. I don't know how coherent this is going to be, how formal this is going to be. This is really just like any other video. It's just me rambling. But The Story of Your Life and Arrival and then Hamnet are two of the most impactful works in both literature and film that I have read and seen in quite some time. When I first read and watched Story of Your Life and Arrival, 10 years ago now, I have been trying to find a way to talk about the film and the story without bawling my eyes out. And finally, when I read and watched Hamnet, it clicked with me how I could talk about these things without devolving into a flood of tears. Sharing how much these works mean to me, sharing how impactful the works and the films and their adaptations are, and showing that adaptations don't have to be line for line, word for word adaptations. Adaptations can be true while still adapting. I don't know how to end this video, so I guess if you have read The Story of Your Life, seen Arrival, read or watched Hamnet, please let me know down below. And if you liked the story, the novel, the films, if you didn't like the story, the novel, the films, however, whatever your feelings are on the works, please let me know and share your thoughts. I guess that is it.